Alright, so yes, you will hear some background activity. Um, I'm okay. So this is going to be pretty much a bullshit session, the life update, whatever you want to call it. So for the last, my uploads have been slow. I've not had a lot go on YouTube wise for the simple reason I've been busy. My health. Let's start with my health first. Um, Weight loss wise, I've maintained what I've lost, but I've plateaued, and it's my fault pretty much. So what happened with what happened is anxiety. Let's start. Anxiety is what I've had a lot of problems out of. Um, work work stress. I go to school in a month. Overtime at work. That's taken its toll on me both physically and mentally. More so, it's been neck and neck. Working so much, my sleep schedule's messed up. Topped with anxiety makes it a little bit worse. And it got to the point a few weeks ago I was having episodes where I would first it started out I was having chest pains. Like I'd be sitting there, my chest would just boom, just start hurting everything else. Like I was gonna freaking horrible, bad. And I would ignore it. And I'm just like, because it wouldn't last too long. But I'm like, oh god, it just sucks. And um, and it got to the point. A friend of mine was up here, and she noticed my telltale signs. She noticed I kind of started like doing this whole thing with my chest, and I told her that I'd been having a few issues before, and she grabbed my hand and started checking my pulse, and she got to start counting. So I counted, and she goes, "Your heart rate's slowing as you count. Anxiety, fix it." And she's telling me for about a week or so about it. She just kept, get it checked, and I'm notoriously stubborn. I mean, you want to see a stubborn jackass right here. I'm stubborn as they come most of the time. All the time, I'm stubborn. So there's that. But um, I woke up one morning and my I was also on top of that. I was also starting to get dizzy spells too. Back stuff got added, but I was chest pains and dizzy spells. Woke up one morning, got out of the bed, and the just started room started spinning. I'm like, oh boy. And then I sat back down for a few minutes to get back up, dizzy once again. It was just bad. It was just bad, and I just on top of that, I couldn't function. I couldn't function. I was tired. I was exhausted, and I just couldn't do it. So I called in, and I went to my doctor or practitioner, what do you want to call it? I went to them, and I said, "Hey, here's what's going on." And the way I phrased it, "Hey, look, my check engine light just come on. All right, run a certain diagnostic on this." Which I've had to have anxiety treated before, and my practitioner's like, "Well," she's like, "You're right now. You're under a lot of stress, obviously. So let's balance you out for a little bit." So she gave me an anti-anxiety medicine for 2 months, just to pop me through school, just kind of coast me until things settle back down. Because after when my ex-wife left, I was no longer needing anxiety medication. I was floating great, and then with all this additional stress plus the physical toll from the hours that I work, kind of hit me all at once, and I just kind of ignored the telltale signs. Oh, well, I'm gonna be all right, be all right. And I just kind of didn't realize what was going on. And that reason for my uploads, I was tired. I would come home. I would go in from work at 3:30 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon, come home, do a little bit of schoolwork, what I could do, then I'd just pass out. Tuesday I'd work regular time, come home. I would get the quick, simple, easy things done for school, and maybe I would try to game a little bit. When I was uploading regularly, that's what I would do. Is I would try to game during the week if I could, and after I get done playing or whatever, I'd just be tired. I'd go to bed, do whatever, chill out, and then edit when I had the time later, and then upload. And it's the overtime, the not sleeping stuff automatically led to my diet starting to go south again. Because for a while, when I was doing good and stuff and wasn't really having to worry about overtime and all that, my diet was staying all right. It was okay. Then I had to make some slow fixes because I would not eat at work and then come home and I would be like a freaking Hoover. Oh, cupcakes, here we go. Pizza roll down the hatch. Coca-Cola, right here. Well, or in some cases, Monster Energy, right here. Put one right there, and there's a vein somewhere up here that pops out when I get pissed. Let's find that and pop it. And that just kind of, it got me to the point, like I said, I was at a standstill. I'd had a short time where I did gain some of the weight back, but then I'm like, all right, let's slow down. So I started making some cuts on things. Slowly got back down. We had the flood happen. The clinic I went to got flooded, so I was a few months there. So I got back on the weight loss medicine and the anti-anxiety medicine. So it's been 2 weeks. I'm starting to slowly get back I'm getting back to what I was before I suddenly just started like dropping off the charts. The reason I didn't stream is my schedule. I'm just going to say what my job is. I'm a correctional officer. I'm a CO, and we have it's all the time. If anyone watching here knows anything about corrections, I know some people that I work with are gamers like I am, and they've watched my channel, so they may or may not see this, but they can tell you firsthand. We have, there's a lot of overtime involved in corrections. Sometimes it can be, you can have your good spurts for a few months. You're not working a lot of, you might work over maybe once a week, week and a half. Have to work over, and that'd be the last time you work. Or in some cases, you'll work over Monday, Tuesday, you're back on standby, and Wednesday, you're smacked. Then on top of that, with corrections, inmates, corrections were, correctional facilities, DOC is responsible for the care of the inmates. Medical, psychological, all that stuff. We're responsible for that. DOC is responsible for that type of care, and it's from the ground up. It's not just it's all this area's fault. It's like a team effort for the most part. It's a team effort, the best I'll describe it. And sometimes inmates have health problems, and they have to go outside. They have to go outside the facility. They might have to go to the hospital because some facility, because like facilities, some facilities are equipped to handle a lot of stuff and some facilities aren't. It's just that simple. And there are also some medical things that DOC facilities just can't accommodate. Like, there's some like, I'm going to go with Orange is the New Black. Let's just use that as the example. They had that one woman that went to chemo treatments, okay? And that happened, like chemo, cancer, stuff like that. DOC facilities don't really have like the facilities and stuff to do that. Or it could also be like a security issue too. I don't know how all the facilities function in the United States, but some facilities, some things DOCs are equipped for, some things they aren't. Obviously facilities have to meet federal standards, given. But there are some things that there are some things that the federal standards don't really cut. There are some things the federal it's kind of on. So inmates obviously have to go outside the facility. Um, like say I'm trying to think of an example without really. I'm trying to think of a good example. Okay, let's say I don't know. Let's say an inmate has say he has something rupture. Say like he has an appendix rupture, something like that. We'll say a general medical issue that's an emergency thing is an appendix rupture. Okay, they have to go to an outside hospital to get that appendix taken out. So there's staff members required right there. So it could be, that requires staff members. Sometimes one, sometimes two, just depends. And so they have to, so they're obviously on the outside of the facility for that. And they may get them cut open, keep them for a few hours, back to the facility they go. Or sometimes it could be, I don't know, let's say they have to have a limb amputated. They're going to be in the hospital for a while for that one. So, they'll put them in there, they'll recover. When they're recovered, they send them back, they go back to the prison, and it goes from there. It's all an administrative bureaucratic thing there based on what the facility's policies are on it. And that also requires more staff. Someday you could say you could have a transport. We might be sending 20 inmates from one facility to this other facility. That requires officers there. That requires more officers than, say, taking one to a doctor's appointment. And the point of my rambling is, that pulls staff members out of the facility, and that means they need staff members to cover that. And then also, staff, we get sick, we call in, we might have an appointment, we might not be able to be in there. For some reason, there's a staff member not coming to work that day, for whatever reason you want to put in your head. That means they need a staff member for that, and that's where your overtime comes from. That's where it comes from. So let's say a shift has 20 posts. You have 5 staff members out for whatever reason. You can either, if you have an area where you have, say, it requires one officer to run it, and you normally have 2 assigned there, okay, they're going to cut that post first. Whatever post has additional officers that can be spared, they'll cut those. So let's say you have 20 posts, so you have like 20 officers. Okay, you got 5 for trips. Now let's say some of those posts that's left, say some of those posts require 1 officer to run, they have 3 assigned, they'll cut 2 officers, make up for that shortage. Say there's another post where they can spare 1 officer from, pull him there. So there you go. You just need 2 officers. So for that shift, unless somebody says, "Hey, I want to work over tonight," which it does happen. There's a few that volunteer, or unless that shift has officers that want to work on their off day for overtime, they'll come in. Then they won't have to mandate nobody for overtime. But let's look at the event. Okay, 20 officers. You need 5 right off the bat. Okay, that's 5 from the previous shift. You have 2 call-ins that you did not, that just kind of, hey, I'm sick. Okay, there's 2 there. That is 12 officers you have. You have to make up for that. So on that previous shift, there's 7 officers that's not going to go home that night. Well, they're going to go home, but they're going to be working over that night in wherever they need them to. And that's where the overtime comes from. Now, when it comes to, whether you're working 12, whether you're working half a shift over or a full shift over, which is a double because you're working 16 hours. Really depends on how your shift set up, because some facilities do 2 12-hour shifts, some do 3 8-hour shifts. But we'll take the model of a 3 8-hour shift facility. Okay, so let's say we'll say second shift, just for the example. Say second shift is holding all these people. So let's say say first shift don't really hold nobody, and there's guys from third shift wanting overtime. So what they can do is, those guys on third shift say they want some overtime, they'll come in, they'll follow protocol to come in, and that means, so let's say there's like 20 third shifters. Let's say a bunch of them want some overtime. 7 of them, whatever, will call and be like, hey, can I get some overtime tonight? And they'll be like, yeah, come on in. And then, say 7 people call and say, hey, we want some overtime. They'll be like, yeah, we've got a bunch here working over. Come in, relieve them, get them out, then go home. And now that's the perfect world. Just saying, that's the perfect world. So all 7 of these dudes come in, walk in, hey, I'm here, I'm your relief. Like, hey, man, high five, whatever. Hey, look, it's been a busy day. Here's what's been going on. Just kind of let they come in, you let them know what's going on. Say like, hey, look, there's been like 20 dudes over there, playing hokey pokey, and they're doing fine. They're singing songs, singing Kumbaya. It's been a really calm night. You never want to say quiet. Just for the record, you never want to say quiet. You're going to jinx yourself right off the bat. I've learned the hard way on that one. I really can't divulge any information on that, but never ever say quiet, because you say quiet, you're probably gonna suck. Just throwing that out there. But they come in, all those officers that got hit for overtime go home. Now let's take the reality of it. So, all right, they've hit 7 people. You got third shifters, say 2 of them, say just maybe only 2 or 3 want to come in. Well, there's 3 people get to go home, but the rest of them are staying for a full 16-hour shift, which is a double. That's where the overtime comes from. That's why you see if you look up a lot of correctional officer things, that's what you see. That's where the whole no sleep, none of this comes from. The no sleep, the constant monsters, the constant coffee consumption, the horrible diets. That's where all that comes from. It's the overtime, it's the work, the hours. Now, in a perfect world where, say, you don't have kids, a family, nothing like that, okay, fine. You can balance that out pretty good. But let's go situation like mine. Okay. Now, Monday morning through Wednesday, I'm working over. I work over 2 out of 3 of those days. Most of mine's voluntary. Most. So, most of mine being voluntary, it's technically the same concept as picking and choosing your battle. I'll go in, I'll work, get my name, I'll keep myself off the lists, and that way, Thursday and Friday, as long as they don't need a ton of people, I go home, spend time with little man. Now, Saturday and Sunday, Saturday and Sundays is basically homework days. It's homework days. I take those 2 days to get caught up. His grandparents usually want him on Saturday, so Saturday I drop him off, come home, catch up on sleep, catch up on laundry, I live out of a hamper, which is why you also see my house has not made a whole lot of changes construction wise. I'm too busy, too tired, and yeah, that's why you ain't see a lot of updates. Too busy, too tired. I'm doing enough to keep myself functioning. And this is why, if you look at a lot of if you actually do some research and look up issues correctional officers have, you will see what I'm talking about. You'll have, PTSD can be an issue, anxiety, depression, alcoholism, divorce. We're not correctional officers, we're not really social creatures. And this doesn't go for every correctional officer either. It affects everybody differently. Even though we're COs, we're still people. So some people it bothers tremendously. Some people it affects them, but it's not at a high rate. So, no, that's where you got some of that. That's basically how it is. We're humans. It affects people differently. But in my situation, I've got this. So what I'm doing is I'm working full time. I work full time. I'm a National Guard parent. Half time, part time. Well, physically part time. When you're a parent, you're a parent. Let's just put it, when you're a parent, you're a parent full time. But I physically do my part half the time. And then I'm also going to school full time. So my time is consumed, which is why my streams have been, which is why you've not seen me do a lot of streams. You've not seen a lot of uploads. That's why you've seen just a quick, hey, 5 minutes, because it's basically I do my 5-minute upload. I do all the stuff on YouTube to upload, and then chances are when I do my quick 5-minute bullshit sessions like this, when I get done, I am either trying to get some gumption to put a little extra time in getting some homework done, or I take my happy ass to bed and get ready for the next day. So, that's what's going on. And yeah, so that's why I'm saying, be patient with me. I finished school in 4 weeks. 4 weeks I'm done. That's going to free me up pretty much. I'll actually have time to do stuff. And plus, when I get my degree, I'll have other job options available, and I'm going to start exploring some of those. I'm not going to go into too much detail about where I want to go, but I have a direction that I'm looking at, and I would like to say it's promising. I would like to just stay optimistic and say it's promising. But nothing's guaranteed. I look at it this way. Is there a few things that I think that I deserve? Yes. But am I entitled to it? Absolutely not. You're not entitled to anything in life. And that's been my philosophy. I mean, there's been plenty of times that I've deserved things and not got them. And that's okay. If I get it, I do. And if I don't, then I look at, I either sit and be patient or, redo my game plan. Or if I have a plan B or C, I look at my other plans. That's the type of mindset that I have. So, yeah, there are things, I mean, is there things I think that I deserve? Yeah, but again, am I entitled? Not at all. And that's why if something happens, my plans don't work out with where I'm going right now, I'm fine with that. Would I love for it to work out like that? Yes, absolutely. Because with my degree, I have options in my career field. I have, and with these other options, I have a chance for a normal 9 to 5. Because with corrections, you work holidays, weekends, Time off is never guaranteed. I mean, time off is not guaranteed. I mean, do we get like time, like personal time, PTO, and stuff that we get and accumulate? Yes, we do. But even though we get it, it doesn't mean we get to use it. So, you know, and so that's the reason you have call-ins is some people get tired, they just need a mental health day. Um, some people, working these hours, putting your body through the stress, you get sick, and then you're down for so many days to recuperate from that. It's rough. Like the roughest times was like during the this pandemic we last had. It hit us pretty hard. We had a lot of staff that their family got it. They got it. They had to be out for 2 weeks to quarantine, and our overtime was going through the roof. We all were working. We were tired. It was just a non-stop revolving door of overtime. And also with corrections, it's almost feel that it's not for everybody. As a correctional officer, you see a lot of stuff. You see a lot. You deal with a lot of things. Correctional officer is we're considered law enforcement and first responders. We're trained in first aid. We deal with. We have medical departments, nurses, practitioners. We have stuff like that. But if something happens, we're normally the first ones that we either arrive to it or we're the ones that find it and have to call it out. You know, Inmates have health problems. Inmates are also people too. They're humans. They have health problems like everybody else does. Because that's, some people think, I've seen a lot of stereotypes of inmates and officers, and it makes me laugh. Because, people talk about, oh man, he's been in prison for 10 years. And you see this guy that's like the size of the Hulk or whatever. And that's not, you see, you see the show Lock Up. You see shows like that, and that's not the reality of it. That's not the reality of it. The reality of all that is, inmates, prison culture is entirely different. Prison is like a prison is like its own, it's like its own city. It's like it's its own thing. Like Australia, for example, they have Convicts Day. They sent convicts to Australia and they established their own colony, their own state. They established their own everything. And prison life inside those fences, it's the same concept as that. They've established their own thing in there. And correctional officers, we play the role. We are the police force. We're EMTs. I wouldn't call us paramedics, but we're EMTs. We're also the fire department. I've not had to pluck a cat out of a tree yet, but hey, it could happen because some of these facilities have animal programs. So there's a lot that goes on in there. There's prison industry. There's industries that make items specifically for prisons, like these clear TVs, clear food packages. There's companies out there that make stuff like that for prisons, specifically for prisons. And because inmates, they have access to stuff. Guys, they're not just, I don't know how every facility in the United States works. It can vary from state to state. But, they have a canteen. They can purchase ramen noodles. They can purchase drink mix packages. They can purchase workout powder. They can purchase TVs, radios, headphones, instruments, CD players. They can have stuff like that. And there's industries that are geared towards this stuff for prisons. I mean, inmates, they have their own code. There's certain things that we can say out here on the street that if you said it inside of a prison, you would get your head knocked in. There's also slang terms. They have their own slang. And it's words that you don't hear on the street. Words like certain terminologies. There's plenty of them. I don't feel like going over prison terminology. I heard enough. But there's terminologies that they use. And out in society, when we step outside that gate, we're back into the normal society, normal culture. And, we have to do that balance. Because when you walk inside that gate, you're a different person. Well, you're not a different person, but you have to use different parts of your personality. There's certain parts you can use of your personality, and there are certain parts that stay outside that gate. Like an example, I'm a nice person, and let's break down me being nice. Okay, so I'll break down niceness for example. Okay, so say I see that you need some help or you need $20. Okay, here's $20. In working inside a prison, an inmate say he needs like an extra, I don't know, hell, let's just say he needs like an extra bag of Cheetos or something. I can't just open my lunchbox. Like, here, big guy, here's your bag of Cheetos. I can't do that. Or let's say, you're sitting at the house or you're sitting with your buddies at lunch. Hey, man, try this. It tastes pretty good. Try it. Oh, yeah, man, it tastes great. In prison, I can't be sitting there eating, looking at him, hey, man, come try some of this. Here, try some of this. You can't do that. It's there, you have to have that boundary. There has to be a boundary, and you can't cross that boundary. Because if you cross that boundary, there can be plenty of repercussions. Some repercussions can be you have a hard time dealing with population, to, depending on what happens, you could lose your job and wind up in jail. You could wind up in the same place that you worked. And, that's how it is with this line of work. It's not easy. On the medical stuff, and also as a first responder, like I said, you respond to fires. Something catches on fire, you're there with the fire extinguisher. If you can put it out, fine. You put out the fire, evacuate, whatever. Whatever the procedures are for the facility, you follow those procedures, problem solved. Now, sometimes that don't work. Sometimes there can be a big fire that you can't control. You and the staff cannot control. So then you have to evacuate, control it. You're looking out for their safety. Fire department comes in, they deal with it then. Now there's fire hoses available. But if it gets to the point where what the facility has on hand can't control it, then you have to have the fire department. Something, you need some help. Let's talk about another issue. Riots. Some facilities have a problem with riots. That's when you have to have outside help. And I'm going to tell you something about, they talk about these prison riots and stuff. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. Inmates do not wake up and be like, I'm going to riot today. Hey, y'all, let's just have a free-for-all. Hell with it, let's have a free-for-all. That does not happen. That's a process. I'm not going to describe the process, but it's a process. But I will say, once you get frustrated for so long and you get to that point of something's going to give, that's a riot. That's when you see staff members get assaulted, stuff like that. Everyone has that breaking point. And what can cause that breaking point can be different reasons, from an inmate has an issue with an officer and they just cannot see eye to eye. It boils to a point. And I'm not saying that every inmate that has a beef with an officer gets that way. I mean, again, inmates are people. You have a problem with an inmate, you can, hey, come here, man, come on, let's what's going on? Let's talk about this. And another thing is, correctional officers, that's one of what we do is, if we see inmates having problems, if they're mad, irate, part of, I don't know how it is for everywhere, but part of your job is talking. A big part of your job is talking, because you're dealing with, in prison, you're dealing with, they're allowed to have religious services too. There's different religions in there. You get all walks of life when it comes to inmates. I mean, we have inmates from overseas. We have inmates that are, not from this area. And we have to be able to effectively communicate with them, because, because life don't stop outside for these guys. They have, deaths in the family. They have, family issues and stuff, and they're stuck behind the wall, the fence. They can't do nothing about it. They can't do nothing to fix it. They're helpless in the situation, and that leads to frustration, anger, and when they're upset, frustrated, angry, whatever the emotion may be, sometimes we have to deal with that. And when I say deal with that, we don't act like, we're not psychologists, we're not therapists. We, you get, say, like, I have an inmate who he's chill, he's alright, he don't do nothing, he never bothers me, never gets a problem, never disrespects me. See, one day he comes up cussing at me, yelling, just being an outright douche. I have to say about, I have two options. I can either reciprocate that and dish it right back, or I can pull him to the side and go, hey, what's going on, man? You alright today? Everything cool? And, and if he's mad, and it could be something simple. And our job is, part of it is listen to him. Listen, hey, man, look, my mama, she burnt the casserole, her oven's broke, she can't come see me this weekend. So get off their chest, they get it out, they calm down. You try to de-escalate situations like that. Part of your job is not, you de-escalate when you can. And if anyone out here is thinking about going into corrections, I will give you, the best advice I'll give you is you de-escalate a situation before it results in a use of force. Because I've got 4 years in corrections. I've never been assaulted. I've never had to use my spray. I've never had issues with the inmate population. Now, when I first started, when I was green, green behind the ears and a greenhorn, I made mistakes. Yeah, I made mistakes, but I learned from them and I grew from them. And it's a process, and that's where I've got as far as I have. And all of that stuff adds up over time. So, yeah, that's kind of a little bit of light on me and what I do. So, but anyways, those of you that are watching and stay subscribed and don't drop it, thank you. I appreciate it. So work with me. When I get school done, I'm going to have a catch-up session tonight and try to get a bunch of stuff done to free some time up. if I free enough time up, hey, you might see an upload. I don't know. I'm not going to promise nothing. I don't even, in this upload, I may stray from Fallout in this episode. I'd love to do the Fallout series, the entire series, but I'm going to kind of bounce from it a little bit and see if I can do something a little more easygoing, something just kind of lighthearted. But thanks for watching. Have a good night and peace out.